Hi friends, it's Farmer Lori from Garden City Harvest, and today I'm coming at you live from my backyard next to this beautiful buzzing beehive. This is a part 1 video lesson in a 2-part video series all about honeybees. In this first video, we're going to be talking all about why honeybees are important to farming, and also a little bit about the different kinds of bees that you find in a hive. Let's get started.
Honeybees are actually a very important part of the agricultural system here in the United States and Montana in particular, even though they're not native to the United States. There are probably hundreds of different types of native bees, meaning bees like bumblebees or leafcutter bees that live here in the wild, but honeybees are not one of them. Honeybees were actually introduced to the United States by Europeans hundreds of years ago, but before that, there was no record of any honeybees living here. They're actually considered livestock, just like cows or sheep or pigs or other animals that you find on farms here in Montana. The big question here is, how are honeybees connected to farming? And they're actually connected in 2 very important ways. The first big way is that they're pollinators. So honeybees pollinate many plants that makes fruits, vegetables, and nuts that humans eat. And they also make honey. Honeybee pollination is very simple. It's not something that the honeybees are doing on purpose, but actually happens as a side effect as the bees travel from flower to flower, collecting food from the flowers to bring back to their hive. The food source inside of the flower is both nectar and pollen. So, as the bee begins its journey, it starts off at a flower, slurps down some nectar, and then the bee's feet collect bits of pollen. The bee then travels to another plant of the same type with the pollen clung to its feet. Even though the bee is there trying to collect more nectar and more pollen from the second flower, it often leaves behind bits of pollen from the first flower, which then creates a pollinated plant. This picture very nicely demonstrates what happens after a pumpkin flower has been pollinated. So once a bee has collected pollen from a different pumpkin flower, it visits a flower, and then this tiny fruit can begin to grow. As you can see, this is what it looks like when it gets a little bit bigger, and then a little bit bigger, and then becomes a mature pumpkin. If this pumpkin had not been pollinated by a bee, it would have never grown into a big pumpkin with viable seeds inside. There are many different kinds of fruits and vegetables that we rely on bees to help pollinate. Some of these include apples, onions, watermelon, and cherries. So without the help of honeybees or other pollinators, we would never be able to enjoy so many different types of fruits and vegetables. Now, in a hive of about 50,000 bees, there are 3 different types. And the 3 different types of bees in that hive are workers, drones, and the queen. 99% of the bees inside of a hive are worker bees. And worker bees, just like their name implies, do all of the work. Their jobs include collecting nectar and pollen, making honey, creating wax to build the honeycomb, cleaning the hive and keeping it tidy, and nursing the baby bees. Worker bees are female bees. The second type of bee in the hive is called a drone, and the drones are male bees. And their job is to mate with the queen bee so that she can lay fertile eggs. In a hive of about 50,000, there are still only about 20 to 50 drone bees. And of course, the bee that is most famous in the hive is the queen bee. In a hive of about 50,000, there is only one queen, and her job is to lay eggs to produce more bees.
We are going to stop there for now. If you'd like to learn more about what's going on inside of a beehive and how beekeepers extract honey from a beehive, please watch part 2 of our Farmer in the Classroom lesson all about honeybees.